Good morning. Welcome to Sunday School for the kindergarten and first graders. My name is Miss Caroline, and today we are going to be talking about love and, more importantly, forgiveness. So I have a question for you guys. Have you ever had a difficult time forgiving somebody for taking a toy or whatever it could be? If I were to answer honestly about myself, I would say yes. And I believe that if you are being honest with yourself, you would have to say yes as well. I'm going to say that unforgiveness, not forgiving somebody, is truly a disease. And it's a disease that will destroy you from the inside, and it will eat away at you until it consumes all of your happiness and joy and peace. But love forgives. That is the basis of our Christian faith. For some wonderful stories in the Bible on forgiveness, have your parent read about Joseph. There are many stories about love and forgiveness, but there are two in particular that you can ask your parent to read to you. And one of them is about Joseph. Joseph was one of 12 sons of Jacob, and the other 11 sons were extremely jealous of him, knowing that he was the favorite son of their father. And Joseph knew it too, which did not help much. So they were so jealous that they sold him as a slave, and they went home and told their father that he was killed while he was out hunting. Their father was totally distraught and so upset, but the other three brothers just, all made a pact to keep that lie and let their father believe that their brother had died. So how horrible is that? So if you want to know the rest of the story, maybe you already know the story, but get a parent to read the rest so you hear how it ends up, because it is a great story of forgiveness. The second story that I, just off the top of my head, is the story of the Prodigal Son. And it's about a man who has two sons, and the youngest of the two asks his father for his inheritance early. So his father gives him his inheritance, which is plenty of money to live off of. And his son picks up and he moves to a completely different country. Bye, Dad. Bye, brother. I'm off. I'm going to live on my own. And so he ended up foolishly wasting all of his money on sinful things. So he ended up, and then a famine hits. So there's no food. He ends up having to work for food. He ends up working on a farm, and he's so hungry. He's looking at the food in the pig sty, thinking that it looks like something he would want to eat. So that's what hunger does to us. If you're hungry enough, you're gonna eat it. So if you want to know the rest of the story, which again, it has a really great ending, ask a parent to read that to you. So now about sons, I will tell you about my own son. There was one day that he came home from school, and he was telling me about his friend Jack, who got this super cool remote control car, and he asked if he could go over and see it. Jack had just gotten this brand new toy for his birthday, and my son wanted to see it. So he goes over. Jack and my son are downstairs in their basement playroom, and just having this wonderful time. And anyway, so my son comes home to tell me this story that was horrible but wonderful at the same time. So this is a story that he comes home and just has to tell me. He's like, Mom, my friend Jack and I were playing with a remote control car in the basement playroom. Mom, it was so cool. It would light up. It could go super fast. It did flips. Everything. And saying, I wanted to play with it so bad. And when Jack's mom had called Jack to go upstairs, he let my son play with it. And so my son is testing out, seeing how fast it goes, and he runs it into the wall, he's telling me. I'm like, oh gosh. So the car crashes into the wall, and not can't quite figure out this part, but there was a shelf that was on the wall, and the impact of the car, I guess, made the shelf fall down. So the shelf just smashes right on top of the car. Now the car is totally done for. And my son says it was just smashed in a couple of pieces or a whole thousands of pieces, who knows. But he broke his friend's car. And then Jack finishes up with his mom when he comes downstairs, and my son's like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to tell you this. He's like, I'm so sorry. I accidentally rammed your car and it broke, and all this. I mean, he's young, so he's having a hard time kind of telling me this whole story, but this is the essence of the story, and this is exactly what happened. And so his friend Jack looks at him. He's like, it's okay. He's like, look, it's just a toy. I forgive you. He's like, you're my friend, and I know you didn't do it maliciously. So, of course, he said, it's just a toy. I do forgive you. Which was super sweet. And when I heard the story, I was hoping he learned from this. But later that day, when his sister was playing with one of his little action figures, it broke. And he was so mad at her. He was calling her all sorts of these unchristian names. And I come down because she's upset, he's upset, and they're making a lot of noise about it. And so I come downstairs, and I had to talk to him. I was like, I have to remind you, remember how Jack handled things when you broke his car? And your action figure, well, it's actually not broken. I just snapped the head back on. But anyway, and so he turned to me and he said, gosh, Mom, you're right. He's like, what if God treated us like I just treated my sister? What if God didn't forgive us? And we need to be so grateful that we do have a God that does forgive everything that we do. And so he's like, gosh, he's like, I really do need to be a little bit more like God, or I think he was really saying more like Jack, but he translated it to be like, forgiving really is a very godly thing, and it truly comes from the love that we have for others. So I thought that was great. So God does. He loves us so much, and he forgives all the bad things that we do. But remember what I said earlier, when we do not forgive, it will always take away our peace and our happiness. All right. So in closing, let's say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right. So let us go forth in the name of the Lord and have a wonderful day.